Good morning.
Morning, guys. Welcome to WRME Live. I am me and she is she, and we are here and it is cold. I am so not into the cold.
Me neither.
It's hard to explain because
No, it's not. I hate cold.
she's always cold, but for someone who was never really cold, and I mean, when I was at my largest, I was never cold. And then I lose 100 pounds, and I was getting cold more frequent. Post-COVID, I get cold all the time for no reason. I'm a lizard. A sunbeam can stop me for the day. It's warm. Oh, warm laundry. And I have to stop and soak in all the heat. And then once it starts turning sort of cold, I have to abandon it for the next heat source. It is ridiculous. But it's part of it. And and now I know how Erin feels, and I can't razz her about being cold all the time anymore.
I am. I'm always cold.
She's always cold. She's got this nice thick sweater on. I'm sitting here going, I need to get my coat.
I volunteer, and one of the things we do is we go to the gun show, and we sell T-shirts to raise money for a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And I have a heating pad, and I take it with me because these buildings can get cold. So they were all making fun of me last weekend because I had the heating pad out on the chair, and I was sitting on it to keep myself warm.
I think that's rather cunning, frankly.
I felt like a lizard on its heating pad, you know? But hey, I know why they like them.
Seriously, sunbeams. I get my cats and lizards are all over that. I get it. It's ridiculous. I just think that's clever.
It worked for me.
I share a pew with a guy named Daniel, and we were talking about the cold, and he's like, put your gloves underneath your butt. That way, whenever you need them, you just take them out and they're already warm. And I'm like, this is brilliant. I've done other things with gloves to try and keep them convenient or have them on, but I never thought about, you know what, my truck's nice and warm. I'll just sit on them so that way when it's time to get out of said warm truck, they're preheated. Yeah, smart people, talk the people. Some of them are smarter than they act. He's a goofus, so every once in a while. Yeah.
So other smart people.
There's other smart people.
If you're thinking about selling your house.
Yes, indeed.
The benefit of using a listing realtor to list.
Or just using a realtor to sell your house. So for sale by owners.
Or smart cookies, as she put it.
I'm smart.
At least on this topic.
Smart cookie, smart biscuit, but besides the point, whether you're doing for sale by owner or selling to your cousin, where you don't think, I really don't really need a realtor, you can still use a realtor for even just the paperwork side, because there is a lot of it. There are public forms on OREC, O-R-E-C .ok.gov, G-O-V.
Yes.
Where you can get state-suggested forms. I highly recommend them just because it covers a lot of things you don't think about, like what's attached to the property, what isn't staying with the property. Property disclosures, but these are things that I know before I joined real estate, I didn't ask. I thought everything that was a part of the property came with it, which sometimes it didn't, like the refrigerator, and I'd be caught off guard.
By golly, I put down that safe, I'm going to take it with me.
Mm-hmm.
If it's attached, like most are, technically you have to
reserve it. You have to reserve it. That's the word. But that's something that you may not be aware of or may not think of because you've got your boxing, you're packing, you're cleaning, you're buying your next house, you're moving into it. Whether you bought a new build directly from the builder and didn't even have to deal with a realtor, but you still got to sell your other house.
And technically there's still one in the background usually doing paperwork.
But when it comes to selling your house, we just know from experience the questions to ask and what in broad, we're not attorneys, but we know in broad what each section of the purchase contract and disclosures is suggested to go over. Like, what is the age of the roof? That's a pretty obvious one, but floodplains? Do you know how to find out if your house is in a floodplain?
Yes.
We do. Not everyone does. And so you might not live super close to a creek and not too worried about it, but if you've got a drainage ditch in your neighborhood, you might want to double check just to make sure that you're not in the 100-year floodplain. And certain insurance companies are particularly wanting flood insurance if you're in the 100-year. Some are like, it's in the 100-year. Whoa.
But you still have to have it.
Yes, depending on the insurance company.
You could come across a property that floods, but you cannot get flood insurance on it.
Oh gosh, yes. And you'd rather know about it going into it so you know what kind of battle you're facing, or so you can properly disclose it to the buyer so it doesn't get held against you for not disclosing it. That's a lawsuit and a half, and no one wants that. And so we help you understand, like, for instance, wall-mounted televisions. Does that count as staying with the property or not?
The television does not, the wall mount does.
Correct, because the television is a click-in system, not a hard mount system.
So it's like the nail you put on the wall to hang the picture.
The picture can go, but the nail would have to stay, or you have to patch it and put it back to normal. And
to previous condition.
Now, nail's kind of the loophole on that one, but like
the point was
the attachment to the wall that was secured to the wall, that would have to stay unless you state otherwise.
So like some neon signs, some signs, you have to actually screw them in. That technically would make the sign attached because you have it screwed in, not just a screw and it hanging.
And we've had one person try and take us to court years and years ago over butterflies on a fence. And it came down to how they were attached to the fence. They were a set-on, not a screw-in. So they weren't attached to the property, and the buyer had to calm down. But at the exact same time, we're like, they're butterflies. Go to a Fair of the Heart. Go buy brand new ones that aren't 50 years old and falling apart. Maybe in a color you prefer. But that is besides the point. Something that you don't think much of, decorative butterflies on a fence, might be a bigger deal to the buyer.
The upright stove and oven, even though it's not attached, it is attached.
And so you have to clarify if it's going or not. And fortunately, on the state list, the state contract, it kind of goes over what stays, what doesn't,
well, and you got to understand, some loans require the stove to be there. So if you're going to reserve that one, you're going to have to replace it with something else. Preferably do that before you list.
Or be prepared to do that later on. So that way, when a perk of sitting down with an agent going, I would like you to do the paperwork only, the stove's going, the agent can go, that might cause problems. Be prepared to either put another one in there or put that one back. Whatever goes back there is your call, as long as it is functioning and fits the space accordingly.
Well, and the other benefit, so if you're going to do it for sell by owner, and you're just going to talk to a local realtor about handling your paperwork only for that transaction.
First question is, will their brokerage allow a paper-only transaction?
Well, that's part of the questions you got to ask. Some will do it and some won't. So ask that when looking.
That's the first one. Sorry, go ahead.
But here's the thing. If I come in and I'm handling your paperwork only, that means here's the paperwork you need. Fill it out for me. Disclosures, whatever. So it's ready. I do nothing else until a buyer comes in and they want to accept that offer. That means you as the owner are going to have to market it. You're going to have to do open houses. You're going to have to schedule showings and all that. So all I would do is come in, handle paperwork. So that's other things to consider. Yes, it's a hot market right now, but do you want to handle all these showings that are backed up to back up to back?
Oh, no joke. And then you throw in, what if something doesn't go right on the paperwork? We did our job. We filled everything to a T, told you exactly what you needed to do, and something got forgotten. You forgot this one thing. And then you close and everything appears to be fine, and the buyer comes back going, you didn't do X. You do not have error and omissions insurance to cover it. That can cause a problem. This is my youngest, Shepherd. What's the matter, Shepherd? I'm on the show. Are you okay? Are you bleeding? Okay, well, be quiet while I finish the show. And it's just an important thing to keep in mind that our brokerages, if not ourselves individually, have E&O insurance to cover if an error or an omission happens in any capacity. And so most homeowners don't do that when they have when they decide to sell their home. It's usually not worth it financially to put that kind of money into it.
Okay, well, we're going to go
because I have to deal with a little one that's having a little bit of the wiggles. In the meantime, you guys have a great week. It's supposed to be fairly sunny this weekend. Lord willing, may it actually warm up a bit. It's supposed to be hot as the dickens next week in the 80s. I'm okay with this.
All right. Well, we'll see.